Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful December 20, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, this week has almost been like the longest day of the year. I mean, it's like devoid of football. I mean, I had gotten in such a football fix over the past several months, Charlton, that to be able to go a day without having 2 or 3 games on, I mean, it's like going through withdrawal. So, we're almost to the weekend, so I'm almost back to reality.
Yeah, it's always good to live in reality, Big C. There's always fun in love and war. I'm telling you, there's something about this great time of year that we have in this country. People getting ready for the holidays, and they always want to celebrate the birth of Christ. I'm sorry, we're in America. Celebrate buying presents and toys. As if we still don't remember what we had last year. We got to keep replenishing that thing. But with football, of course, football brings people together, kind of like a nice meal. Basketball is great. It's a little bit fast for a lot of people up and down the court. And then you think about everything that goes on socially. I love the fact that in 2018, our country is becoming more and more intelligent, Big C. At least all it takes is a few good people to make things right. I do want to say today's segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as other Cadillac cars that I have on the market too. Big C, I want to start off something today because I know you talked about football being missing, and you feel like something's missing in life. But I tell you what, I think about what happened today in Manhattan with Weinstein and, Gloria. I've all read how this Me Too movement, and we all love football. I just think about something. To go through life as a woman, a lot of men, you're a big guy, you never worry about your safety anywhere. And if you do, you don't show it. But most women, when they walk out of their doors, they have to worry about their safety. But you would never expect to have to worry about your safety or to pull your pants down to get a job. And Weinstein's about to face the fire. And when it's his time, he's trying to have somebody say, I didn't do it. I'm glad that people can use the court to find some type of safety. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it shows how money has gotten the elite out of trouble for decades here in America, is that they've always used power and influence to get out of criminal situations. When we see the disparity in our criminal justice system, one of the things they're fighting for reform in, Charlton, is the financial ability for people to have equal opportunity. And Richard Pryor, the great late comedian Richard Pryor, said years ago in one of his skits, he's like, you got to have an attorney. You might be broke afterwards, but they will keep you out of trouble. And when you think about what so many of these people, and especially the people in the entertainment industry, Charlton, have gotten away with for decades, when we look at media and we look at cinema and we look at television, there have been so many people displaced in the past couple of years because of their actions of the past, Charlton, that finally people have become empowered. And I think a lot of that, Charlton, came from our president when he wanted to speak out on that Access Hollywood tape about what you could do to women and get away with it. He really empowered women, Charlton, in doing that, saying, no, you can't get away with it.
That's right.
Because you're wealthy. We can still talk. Enough of us talk, and people will believe us. When you think about the atrocity that have gone on against women in America, Charlton, for centuries, we can go back to slavery. We can talk about all the modern atrocities that are occurring to women of color, non-color, Charlton, in America, the minority. But when you think about what slave women had to go through, Charlton, their entire life being interned in slavery here in America, that they had no rights, and even if they spoke up, I mean, their family members had to sit there and endure what they even had to endure. They had no rights throughout time, Charlton, all the way up to the 60s, 70s. African-American women always endured that plight in America.
Yeah.
And now that the rest of the masses in America, and I'm not trying to make light of it, Charlton, in any way.
No.
It's been an atrocity since slavery, just like it is an atrocity today to assault a woman, Charlton.
Yeah, and I think
But white America has done this forever, Charlton.
Yeah.
They've done it forever. The only, prominent person we see in prison right now is Bill Cosby, an African American.
Yeah.
But many white Americans have been fired from mainstream media, Charlton, in the past 2 years for doing this.
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein, if he's prosecuted, will be the first one. The rest of them figure that paying off several $1 million will satisfy the situation that they've done against these women, that they'll just go away.
Yeah.
We saw a Supreme Court justice, Charlton, having to deal with this. And people in his party saying, well, he didn't do it because she can't remember. It's not like a woman writes all this stuff in a diary, Charlton. They try to forget it because no one believes them. Or they'll say, well, you must have did something wrong for him to do that. You must have gave him bad signals. It's not the case, Charlton. It's been an embarrassment, and society has been run by men, and they don't want to put away other men for just being men, Charlton.
Yeah, that's so true. I was looking at an article just talking to women who are in law enforcement and realizing, like, who can I really trust? Like, who's going to keep me safe? I've never, for any woman listening anywhere in the universe, men really don't have to think about this. Now, it's a show that is for everyone. We don't use profanity, but we do speak the truth. The only time men really have to worry about their safety is when they are in an institution, that they're incarcerated in a prison system, where men will prey on other men. That's a fact. Now, nobody wants to go through that, but it's been something that's been forced upon people of color through the prison industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about. But we know prisons make a lot of money for people. But something's happening right now, and it's a seminal moment in our history, because never before in the history of this great country, the United States of America, have white men been prosecuted for rape. That's happened through the Middle Passage with impunity. They raped anybody they wanted to. It happened even in Jim Crow, where even if you went to law enforcement, oftentimes it was law enforcement that did the rape of black women. Black women can tell you those stories when they speak truthful, even though it's painful. The guys that did it, for the most part, they were Caucasian. Whenever there was a lynching in this country, it was for the most, and Google this, okay? It was white male behavior that was putting noose around a black man's neck, as well as women and children, and they were lynching them from trees, and they had people gather around with their Bible, and they were applauding, and they did it with impunity. When I look at Weinstein, he's probably wealthier than any of those men who got away with rape and lynching in the past, but because of the Me Too movement, it put a white face on it now. See, black women have always protested rape and being assaulted of their husbands and themselves, but never before was there a similar movement to stop it. This is the first time in our history that white men cannot get away with this garbage, because white women have said, you know what, it's also happened to Me Too. Get it? The Me Too movement. And now they're taking those same men to court. It's a paradigm shift for Donald Trump. That's why he can say you can grab him by the vagina, and he thought it was funny, because they've been raised to think it's okay, and it always has been until now. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he had grown up in that type of backdrop, that he had always been in an affluent situation, and we know his history of suing people, of taking somebody else to court, Charlton, and say, well, look, I can outlast you financially.
Yeah.
And having friends in politics, Charlton, when he was in New York, you can pay people off. It's always been done in society. Finances will get you through things.
Oh, yeah.
But I am so glad that all women speak up now, Charlton. From the atrocities of the decades that have occurred in America, men have to be held accountable. And not based, Charlton, because they have a certain amount of money or political clout.
Right.
Is that they need to be held accountable for doing wrong.
Yeah.
For wronging another person, Charlton.
Yep.
For stealing somebody's sanctity, Charlton, their soul. Because that's what they do when they commit these atrocities, Charlton. And you know, you can't turn a blind eye on it. Everybody in America, Charlton, is knowing somebody who knows somebody who's had something happen to them.
Yeah.
And that's wrong that we live in a country that's supposed to be the greatest country in the world, Charlton, and people can get away with these things. You know, I look at Fox News with all the people that they paid off for committing sexual assault.
Crime, yeah.
People.
You're right.
I mean, you can even Google ESPN. They've eliminated some 20 employees, Charlton, on-air employees, for sexual misconduct within that company, Charlton. Settled lawsuits. So nobody's immune to it, Charlton, regardless of where you are in Washington, whether it's starting at the White House or on down to the gas station down the street, Charlton. These things have happened. And it's finally that Americans are talking up, even athletes, Charlton, who have lost their employment and their livelihood for committing these acts against women. You know, it's despicable. So nobody should be immune, Charlton, when they commit these acts.
I agree wholeheartedly, but I want to ask you a question, okay? Because we just talked about since 1619, when the first slave ships landed in the United States, or landed on the West Coast, or in the eastern part of the United States, there were always people who had to deal with it, mostly black women. I know white women did too, but they still had some freedoms that black people didn't have. Now, because when you think about it, we're in 2018, going back to 1619, over 400 years, and never before really in the history of the great United States of America have white males had to face the justice system for assaulting women. So when I see Weinstein in Manhattan and a judge, I think they set the trial hearing for, I think it's back sometime in March, I believe. I know it's 2019. I believe it's in March. I could be wrong. But, Big C, have you ever, remember, who's the lady down in Mississippi, the senator?
Cindy Hyde-Smith.
Cindy Hyde-Smith that said she would go sit front row at a public lynching. Imagine if they were lynching little white kids. Imagine if there were models of people lynching little white girls. Imagine if there were models of people lynching white men in a public town hall setting. And imagine somebody saying that they would go sit front row to watch that garbage, and still, with that hatred, that xenophobia, she's still elected to be senator of that state. What a shame. So for someone that says she would attend a public lynching, it was okay to watch someone's life come to an end with mob rule. Now you say, well, what's that got to do with what happened with Weinstein? Would she be willing to go watch Weinstein in court and have him testify, or have the women that he harmed testify, show up and say what he did to them? If you think about how chilling it is, we are upset that a man assaulted a woman, put something in her drink. It's really a message for every woman around the world. When a guy wants to buy you a drink, buy your own drink. How can she sit there and say she would attend a lynching, and we have people on trial for just assault, not ending somebody's life, and then you still have women like her that applaud that behavior that Trump said, like grabbing them by the vagina, and when he came to help represent her as she was stomping to become the senator again of Mississippi, she did not admonish that behavior. So there are even white women, this is true, Google it, there are white women who never admonished white males for the garbage that Weinstein's on trial for today. Big C, that's why it's happened for so long with impunity. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the reason why it happened so long, Charlton, with impunity in America, you have to look no further than the founding fathers, the gentlemen who wrote the Constitution in America, Charlton.
Yep.
It's what they allowed. It was part of their action. You got to think about this, Charlton. The last president in the United States to own slaves was Ulysses S. Grant.
Yes, Grant, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Ulysses S. Grant. So he was the 16th president, I believe, of the United States.
Yeah.
So when you look how long that atrocities occurred against black people in America, and this is something that's very profound, Charlton. There was no nice slave owners, okay?
Nope.
There were none. Thomas Jefferson, he was not a nice slave owner. People can say, well, they treated their slaves nice. No, Charlton, these people were in prison.
Yep.
They were enslaved. They were forced into labor. They were forced to do things that they didn't want to do, Charlton. So you could not be nice to them, Charlton. You starved them. You beat them. You raped them. That's not being nice. You think about if anyone in our society in America, Charlton, had to live through that today, regardless of color, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Charlton, Middle Eastern. If you had to live under those conditions today, look at what they do to men today, Charlton, who commit man acts, who kidnap people and hold them against their will. You go to prison for life, Charlton. This is what they do. And this is what was done by our founding fathers in this country, Charlton. They committed atrocities every day of their life, every day of their adult life in this country. They committed atrocities. So when you wonder why our country is like it is with racism, with sexism, Charlton, it's part of the Constitution, just like the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Charlton. It was their right to do these things. So when you look at the behavior of men in America, it started from day one.
And I just applaud women, but I'm telling you, as a black man, there's sometimes you wonder what life is like in this country from outside looking in. You're lucky to be African American. I know the system may be stacked against you, but you think about it. You have the ability to see two societies. There are many white Americans, the only time they interact with the black Americans is in the workforce or when they play sports. They don't have to go to a black doctor for the most part. I'm speaking pejoratively. They don't have to sit in front of a black judge, pejoratively. They don't have to get pulled over by a black police officer, pejoratively. They don't have to get their resumes looked at by black management for a company, pejoratively speaking. They don't have to have their resume reviewed or their GPA reviewed when they're going into a college by a black staff, pejoratively. When they're being elected to become the mayor or a governor or a president of this great country, for the most part, they don't really need black Americans until it's time to get the vote. There are many white politicians, you won't see them in a black neighborhood until they want your vote, and then they'll be gone for 4 more years. Kind of like leap year comes around every 4 years. That's when they come around, Big C. So the thing that you see as an African American, I've heard these stories growing up, how so-and-so got taken advantage of by mainstream, and mainstream could have been a judge, mainstream could have been a law enforcement officer, could have been the neighbor down the street, somebody you had to work for. There were a lot of black women that worked as nannies in somebody's in mainstream's house to feed their own kids. You don't know the hell they had to put up with because they couldn't go report it because law enforcement wouldn't believe them, and they may lose their job. They did it because they had to believe in God because that's all they had. So now I see this great seminal moment in our society where mainstream is saying to these old white guys, no more. Black women have been saying that for 400 years, and they still get marginalized, still get brushed aside, still get told you don't matter. They don't make as much per dollar. They were the reason we had the civil rights movement. There's still not as many managers that are African American as there are Caucasian women. And as a black man, if we don't speak up for black women, nobody else will. And I just think it's so important that finally white society, especially white men, can see the hell that black women have put up with for 400 years of this garbage, and they had to do it while sending their kids to college, while keeping their head up high, keeping employment, teaching everybody to pray. And for the first time, I think a lot of black women feel vindicated. They say, we've been saying this for 400 years, not just with Gloria Albert showing up in Manhattan about a rich white guy, Big C. What message will you give to black women that said, look, we've been telling you these guys are doing this to us also? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, their voices resonate, and it's always resonated. It was about that society has never believed them, and they still don't believe them, Charlton. They don't look back at what black women have had to endure in America. And the excuse will be, well, that was the time then. No, that time is still now.
Still now.
You know, it doesn't pass. When we think about how black people in America, Charlton, have been exploited over the centuries and decades in this country, and it still happens, whether it's the incarceration system, Charlton, whether it's the inability to get a quality job, Charlton, having to live under Jim Crow in southern states, Charlton. That's atrocities against black people. That's what was set up. You think about this is 2018. This country still lives under Jim Crow law in 13 states in America. This is supposed to be the United States of America, yet there is still states that are living under the separation that we had in this country, Charlton, when we had the divide of the Civil War. They still held on to some of their rights, and the rest of the country allows it. When we think about Washington, D.C., Charlton, how can you have 13 states in this country that our senators, that our congressmen,
Yeah.
and our president allowed to operate under Jim Crow law. It's mainly the Congress and the Senate
Yeah.
that do that, Charlton,
Yeah.
because they're the ones who vote these laws into action. But they allow these states to still have separation in America,
Yeah.
where minority people are oppressed. And so when you oppress a culture of people, Charlton, how can you ever have equality in America, in the justice system, or even in the employment system, Charlton?
Big C, I love your knowledge when it comes. I can ask you anything. That's when people say, who is Big C? I just say he's the mystic. And this is why I want to just congratulate our society. You don't have to be black to understand what justice and equality is. You can just be a human being. The biggest sporting event that we all look forward to is the Super Bowl. There's two rules of thought here. In order to make change, you cannot be absent. Okay? There's a way that you make change by being inside and having dialogue. What I say about Big C Sports being up for the Everett R. Morrill Award, which is excellence in broadcast journalism. It's about telling the truth, integrity, saying Google us, fact check what we say. If we're not accurate, just don't listen to us. But also hold mainstream to the same thing. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Bruno Mars, Lady Gaga, Usher, Cardi B, The Amigos, Ariana Grande, Adele, Rihanna, Pink, they're a multiracial. They're all different ethnic groups, but because of the NFL stance against Colin Kaepernick, and remember POTUS said, if anyone wants to stand for liberty and justice for all, then fire the SOBs. That was POTUS's words. Okay? Because of the NFL stance against Kaepernick, which really is a stance against all black people, especially the children of those women for 400 years, have had to put up with that same garbage that Weinstein and his white cronies have forced women to go and deal with. Okay? They're protesting. They say they don't want anything to do with the halftime. I want to ask you a thought, though, Big C. Can they make a change by being absent, or would it make more sense to appear and make a statement? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you get censored by having to make a statement. I think what they show is that the NFL doesn't have the power to do as they choose. That these people who affect more people, really, Charlton, than the NFL, when you're talking about the youth of our country, the people that are going to make a change over time, and not just in this country, Charlton, around the world. We're talking about worldwide entertainers.
Yeah.
Telling the biggest entity in the United States, the biggest sports entity, we do not have to deal with you. We can have separation because we don't believe in all of your policies and actions. So when they say that politics and sports don't mix, Charlton, that is politics injecting into sports.
Yeah.
Saying because of our political beliefs and your political stance, we're not going to cohabitate.
Yeah.
And so when you have spokespersons like the largest entertainers worldwide, Charlton, turning their back on the NFL, said, we don't need you to perpetuate our careers.
Yeah.
We will outlast anybody that's playing in the league and people that are in executive positions. But we have a voice that we can go out, Charlton, and influence people to make a change. And that's what mainstream society is, Charlton. They fight against the little people, Charlton. They hold on to their power. And to have majority of these entertainers that you just mentioned, Charlton, to be minority, to have the power. You think about 30, 40 years ago, Charlton, if you turned your back on a large sports entity, it may have damaged your career. It doesn't do that now, Charlton. It doesn't hold the water that it used to, that you can damage an entertainer's career, that you can blackball them. Because no one needs a record label anymore, Charlton. Anybody can produce their own product and release it because they got this little thing called the internet. That nobody is held hostage any longer. Before, it would be, well, we won't play your record on radio stations. Who cares? Now artists control all their money. They're not held to task by corporate America any longer, Charlton. The internet created freedom and power for these artists. But to let the NFL know that as grand as your stage is, Charlton, and as many people that watch it, we don't lose because those people see us every day. The Super Bowl is one day out of the year, Charlton. These artists perform every day around the world, and they choose the venues that they want to play in. And you think about it. those artists that you named, Charlton, they sell out those venues the same as the Super Bowl do.
Yeah.
On multiple dates throughout the year, not one date, Charlton.
Yeah.
But they can travel and sell one of those venues out 50 times a season, Charlton.
Yeah.
50 times every week they can hit one of those venues and sell it out. They don't need the Super Bowl to make their career. They are part of what our society is, Charlton, and saying that we are empowered, just like the Me Too movement, Charlton. What those artists are, they are a collective group of individuals that have a union.
Yeah.
Is that they believe in each other because they help each other's career, Charlton. They are a family that's sticking together.
That's so powerful. So for guys like Jay-Z and Beyonce, Bruno Mars, Lady Gaga, Usher, Cardi B, The Amigos, Ariana Grande, Adele, Rihanna, Pink, and there are many others.
Charlton, you're talking billions of dollars of influence in those names that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So do they need a payday from the NFL to get them? Charlton, I don't think they're going to miss a power bill anytime soon. You know what I'm saying?
They may not miss it.
And I don't think they even make mortgage payments when they walk in and buy property cash.
Yeah.
So when you talk about affecting people, Charlton, these are people of power and influence. And if they ever got together collectively and went negatively against the NFL, think about the worldwide backlash that you would get against that great sporting entity.
Yep. Well, it's about fairness. And what I want mainstream to know, especially, and I know people say, well, Charlton, they don't own anything. But when I see certain, black brethren on TV or on radio, and I know they got to keep a job, but there's something called a sickle fence. Google it. I hate when all they talk about is sports. When all they talk about is LeBron James, Steph Curry, when they talk about someone like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, they talk Russell Westbrook, Russell Wilson. They talk as if they get on TV and they act like they dumb down and they just become to the whole world. In fact, to the universe, just a dumb guy talking sports. I even see guys argue over sports. They're not like you, Big C. You're so well-read. You can talk about anything. What a waste it would be to society. In fact, what a waste it would be to the universe if Big C only came on from his boat eating catfish with hot sauce and moonshine, and he only talked about the score of a game. What would the world miss? I want to be a billionaire too, like Jay-Z. But what does it matter if you're ignorant? And what I love about intelligent black people who are not afraid to speak the truth, that people don't like you anyway, even if you kiss their butts, but they respect you when you're honest. No, most people don't like you anyway. They just smile on your face. But when they can Google what you're saying, you earn their respect. Big C, the last thing I'll say on this, and I want your thoughts, it's so awesome because our culture now, after 400 years of black women and men not really having any adjudication of the court system prosecuting white men because white women are being harmed, not because black women are. But our country and our culture can say, we're going to stand up against mainstream that doesn't treat us fair. Then they don't run the show anymore. And we know that we generate their bottom line. So everyone needs to follow and take our rightful place in society. So the next time I see a group of black men on a show, they surround a white host, either male or female, and they become the experts. The show is named after the white person. I'm not knocking white people for taking advantage of that. You've been doing it forever. Those shows are not named after those black people that give their talent and knowledge. You're being robbed with a smile on the face because you're a host or you're a guest but not a host. There's a difference when you're invited into someone's house than when you own it. And I'm proud of people for using their intelligence in their lifetime, Big C, to do things that will affect the next generation of people to come. So for 400 years, black women have had to deal with impunity. What these people are being prosecuted, or Weinstein's being prosecuted for, no one came to the defense. But now there's a nouveau riche black person. And they're not afraid to speak the truth. And because mainstream respects the truth and money, they're starting to acquiesce and listen. You don't get pulled off the air for being honest. You get applauded for being honest, Big C. That has to hit home with some guys. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it does and it doesn't. And let me give you a perfect example of what occurred today. It occurred yesterday.
Yeah.
When you think about Josh Gordon taking a step back from the NFL to deal with mental issues.
Yeah.
Because of this thing that he has with drugs, Charlton, he's had it for a long time. The NFL has made drug addicts out of many current and former athletes, Charlton.
Yep.
They've made players addicted. Josh Gordon has this affinity for whatever it is, Charlton. I don't know what he's using,
Right.
He has this affinity for it.
Yeah.
Think about how much of white society, Charlton, has an affinity for the same things that Josh Gordon has.
Yep.
But when I heard some black broadcasters on the news, on the sports today, Charlton, talking about Josh Gordon in a negative light, you know, they're more concerned about what he meant to the New England Patriots.
Did his life.
Other than what he meant to himself or to his family, Charlton.
Yeah.
That his life didn't matter as a person, only that he was hurting the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, and Tom Brady.
Those guys are
How
dumb.
he was leaving this team stranded, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is a young man that's been crying for help for years, Charlton.
Yeah.
That life is in peril. It's been tumbling and spiraling down, Charlton.
Yeah.
And when they talk about, in our society today, Charlton, they talk about this you know, addiction that we have with opioids in America, Charlton.
Yep.
Fentanyl, you know, Oxycontin. Because it's a white drug, Charlton.
Yeah.
You think about cocaine and you think about crack, Charlton. Cocaine's a powder, crack's a rock form.
Yep.
You add baking soda to one, Charlton, and you end up with crack. You leave the other in a powder form, you got cocaine. The sentences in society, Charlton, are different for the two because the white person can get, you know, counseling.
Right.
He can go to a program to get help. You put the black person or the minority, the person of color in jail, Charlton, you lock them up.
Wow.
Because they're the equal drug, Charlton, they're the same.
Yeah.
And so when I heard these broadcasters today, Charlton, talking about Josh Gordon, saying how he hurt an NFL franchise because of his illness. And I'm not calling it a weakness, I'm calling it an illness
It's
because
an
that's
illness.
what
I agree.
they say it is now, Charlton, because of white people dying in this country from drug overdoses. It's an illness. It's no longer an epidemic or an addiction.
Right.
It's an illness.
Right.
So to give Josh Gordon all these chances he's had in the NFL, Charlton, he has tried. He's tried time and time again. So when you give somebody a first chance, second chance, third chance, Charlton, what's wrong with that in society to help save someone's life? That's what the NFL has done over the years with Josh Gordon while he was in Cleveland,
Yeah.
while he was with the Patriots. They were giving him opportunities to try to save his life.
Yeah.
You don't turn your back, Charlton, when something goes wrong with a person. And if he's not out hurting other people, Charlton, physically, how can you classify him as a criminal?
I agree.
The acts that he did, Charlton, were against his own body.
Yeah.
And I heard people sitting up today talk about, well, look at the money he lost. What if he lost his life? Would the money matter at that point, Charlton? Well, they're sitting there and they're more concerned about the money that he's not going to make and how a team's record or season may be affected because of his actions. He's only one, Charlton, of 53 players on a roster. So it's up to management to put the proper players on a roster to make that team successful. One individual is not going to make that team, Charlton. He has an illness. Is anybody blaming Aaron Rodgers for playing bad this year, Charlton? No.
No.
Is anybody blaming Matt Ryan for playing bad, Charlton?
Nope.
No. Josh Gordon performed well while he was on the field.
Yeah.
He has a problem that affects him off the field, as many Americans do, Charlton. He is an American. But when I hear these sports broadcasters, because he's an African American, saying that he's hurting the team and the organization, Charlton, how atrocious is that from them?
Wow.
And I heard black and white broadcasters saying that today, Charlton, and it bothered me deeply because everybody in America, just like when we talked about sexual assault, Charlton,
Yeah.
everybody in America is affiliated with somebody personally or not too far removed from somebody that they know that knows somebody who's been affected by drugs in this country, Charlton,
That's right.
whether they've been legal or illegal. And for these broadcasters to come out there, and when we see every night on the national news,
Yeah.
all of the people that are affected by drugs, family, lives that are lost, Charlton, and for them to try to throw Josh Gordon under the bus for having an illness that he has fought ever, and he's done it publicly. He hasn't tried to hide it, Charlton.
No.
He's fought it publicly. He's been suspended from the league, and have all these guys, and a lot of them, Charlton, who have played the same sport that he has, or other professional sports to attack him. Because I guarantee you this, Charlton, everybody that has played a professional sport has somebody that they know that was a teammate or a former teammate who's had a drug addiction.
Yeah.
I, myself personally, Charlton, when I was playing, one year I got addicted to Vicodin.
Yeah.
Took me a long time to get off of it, Charlton, with some help from my oldest brother.
Yeah.
He helped me. I mean, the team gave it to me freely. They didn't mind making me an addict as long as I performed.
Yep.
But my oldest brother got me out of it. I didn't have the counseling I had, Charlton, was family.
Yeah.
That was the counseling I had. The team wasn't going to send me to counseling to say, hey, they made a drug addict out of me.
Wow.
My brother talked to me. He helped me out. I had that strength within family. That's why we say that family's so important, Charlton.
Yep. Yep.
But Josh Gordon was turned on by the fraternity of broadcasters today, Charlton, and former players turning their back on him.
Well, we know that sports is $1 billion industry, and girls and boys sports is the foundation to this $1 billion industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. Big C, some of these guys are sycophants. And that's what I say. And see, I don't care what color you are. There's no partiality in my heart. I know people of all color. All life came from the African continent. But what I don't like is when our black brethren, if you're dumb, they'll put you on the air so you can just be a dumb jock. What a waste of time that you went to school for that. And you say, well, the mainstream won't let me talk about anything other than the score. And when you do, you try to hunker down and double down on black men that are going through pain. White guys get counseling. Out here in Hollywood, there's so many people in that industry that you know that are famous that go through rehab. They used to have a show by Dr. Drew that dealt with people who were dealing with rehab, Big C. They weren't sent to prison. They weren't sent to jail. They didn't lose their job. There's many of them that are very well known that have gone through rehab. They're white. Some black too, but mostly white have. They didn't put them in prison and destroy their lives. And so when you have black men on TV saying, well, this guy cost his team. Sounds like Massa on the plantation. He has a heart. He has a family. Maybe reach out to him and get him some help. Not worry about his team. That's why I don't like dumb guys. I don't care what color you are. Big C, the NBA players, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Steph Curry. What do they all have in common, Big C? They're great players. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you those players you just named, over the last 20 years, Charlton, those have been the most dominant players in the NBA. When you look at their legacy, Charlton, those are the players who have propelled their teams to more than one championship, Charlton, over the last 2 decades. They're synonymous when you talk about the greatest of an era.
Yeah.
When you think about what Kobe did in his 5 championships with the Lakers, Charlton, you think about what Shaquille did with his championships with the Lakers and the Miami Heat. You think about Steph Curry, how he has propelled the Warriors, Charlton, to 3 championships in this last several years.
Yeah.
LeBron James, we all know the greatness of LeBron, whether it's in Cleveland, whether it's in Miami, Charlton. Tim Duncan, with Greg Popovich down in San Antonio. Without Tim Duncan, Charlton, San Antonio wouldn't have had 5 championships. You think about it. That is the quietest 5 championships in NBA history.
Yeah.
No one thinks about the dominance that Tim Duncan created down there. We all hear about the Mamba in L.A. because of Showtime had been in L.A. Then Kobe Bryant came along in that era with Shaquille O'Neal, Charlton.
Yeah.
We think about the current run now with the Warriors. Everybody talks about Kevin Durant. The Warriors had won a championship prior to Kevin Durant showing up, Charlton.
Sure did.
They lost, one, but they still won 2 more since he's been there.
Yep.
But that team has been run through Steph Curry. We think about the Diesel when he was playing, Charlton. There was no more dominant player in the NBA. When Shaq showed up, the building leaned to one side, okay? He
Literally.
the court.
Yeah.
So, when you think about, when people want to sit up and talk about the greatest players of all time,
Yeah.
over the last 20 years, Charlton, that 5, if you put them together, Charlton, they would have won 20 titles.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They honestly would have won 20 titles because who would cover any of those guys, Charlton?
Wow.
You got guards, you got centers, you got power forwards in that lineup, Charlton. That you put Kobe and Steph in the backcourt together, Charlton.
Yep.
In the front court, you got Duncan,
Yep.
you got Shaquille, and you got LeBron.
Yep.
I mean, you got to go get 5 basketballs. But who could play with that team, Charlton? You talk about a team that could win 80 games in an NBA season, Charlton.
Yeah.
And I don't care what era you look at. I mean, you can look at an era with Kareem in it. You can look at an era with Wilt in it, too, at Charlton, with Jordan. I personally, and every talk show has their own opinion, Charlton.
Yeah.
I think that that's the greatest 5 that you could put together in any era of basketball.
Yeah. You know what, Big C? With that said, I know one player that could destroy that 80 chance to win 80 games. If you put James Harden on that, he wouldn't pass to anybody with more than, 4 seconds to shoot the ball, Big C. That would be hard to make that team not be successful at all. But I love what you said about those great players. It's always great when we have it now. I mean, we have it now. It's not like looking back in the days where you had Kareem, or before him, you had guys like Oscar Robertson, or Dr. J, or Chamberlain, I think, or Russell. We have these guys now at Big C. It's just so important that we pay attention to how great we have it this time of year. I want to reach it. I want to get on one more topic real quick. The Oakland Raiders. I mean, I don't even know why it makes sense to even say this. Nathan Peterman, your favorite quarterback that played for Buffalo, John Gruden gets this guy. Now, he's only on the practice squad, but we told you that Carr will not be an Oakland Raider start 2019 season. Okay? Maybe wrong, but I doubt it. Why do they go after this garbage and bring him for the Oakland Raider organization to say, here's a guy that throws interceptions like handshakes, but Gruden, what's the point, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Nathan Peterman had just been released by the Detroit Lions. They had signed him after Buffalo had released him. But if people want to know why the Oakland Raiders just signed Nathan Peterman, you need to go to your friend called Google, okay? Go back and Google John Gruden's quarterback camps when Nathan Peterman came out of the University of Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Look at how John Gruden raved about this guy, how he would be a great NFL quarterback.
Yep.
That any team that drafts him is going to have a success. Now, John Gruden said this about Nathan Peterman coming out of college. So all those people who think John Gruden can evaluate quarterbacks, he said that Nathan Peterman was one of the top quarterbacks coming out of college when he left Pittsburgh. And now he signed him in Oakland. So this quarterback whisper,
yep.
I mean, he talks to himself when he's at home by himself. I guess that's who he's whispering to.
Yeah.
But you think about it. We talked last week talking about the number of quarterbacks that had been signed since, I believe it was in March of 2017 when Colin Kaepernick got released. There was somewhere around 82 quarterbacks that had been signed by the NFL since that point. And here's Nathan Peterman. And I don't care how dumb you are about football knowledge. If you saw Nathan Peterman play, even just Google his stats with the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
This is a guy that has three times as many interceptions as he did touchdown passes in the last 3 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's not us making that up. That's a fact.
Google it.
And he kept a job because he was white.
Yeah.
But also John Gruden said he would be a top-flight NFL quarterback. I think John Gruden also said that about Christian Hackenberg.
Yeah.
When he cut early in the year, that there was a kid named Cook out of Michigan State.
Yep.
That he traded also, Charlton, for Hackenberg. So when you think about quarterbacks that John Gruden would say would turn around an NFL franchise, he's brought them all in and he's cut them all.
Yeah, that's
But
incredible.
he's also gotten rid of the players that were in the NFL franchise.
That's a very good point, Big C. Potential NFL quarterback moves. I want to get your thoughts, Big C, because oftentimes what you say just comes true. Just Google it. Potential quarterback moves this offseason. Teddy Bridgewater perhaps comes to name, maybe for Tampa Bay. You have Nick Foles, maybe New York Giants. Joe Flacco, Jacksonville Jaguars. Jameis Winston, Redskins. Tyrod Taylor, Derek Carr. Because it's about money. It's about decision making. But why? Just give me your thoughts on what you can see as potential quarterback moves this offseason, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you talk about those guys, you got Teddy Bridgewater in New Orleans. Drew Brees is still playing at a high level in the NFL. He's in that MVP race.
Yeah.
They also have Taysom Hill, Charlton, who has become more like quarterbacks that you're seeing now, the young quarterbacks coming out of college, who's like a Deshaun Watson,
Yeah.
a Marcus Mariota, a Cam Newton. He's that type of player, Charlton, that can add electricity. He will be New Orleans' backup. I don't see them re-signing Bridgewater because of the amount of money. But a perfect fit for Teddy Bridgewater would go to Tampa, Charlton, because I don't think that they'll hold on to Jameis Winston with all the problems that he's had.
Yeah.
And Bridgewater is from Florida. When you talk about Nick Foles, Charlton, how long does he want to stay around in Philadelphia and not making maximum money? He won a Super Bowl last year, Charlton. He's won his first game coming back this year. And Philadelphia has a decision, Charlton.
Yep.
Do they invest in Carson Wentz, who's become injury-prone in their future? And Nick Foles has to go look for job security. Charlton, the New York Giants, which he's very familiar with the NFC East,
Yep.
would be a perfect landing spot with that running back Saquon Barkley and that receiving core that they have.
Yep.
He would become an all-pro player. Joe
Yep.
Flacco, I think that the system is changing in Baltimore enough that he won't be a part of what they're doing. They've done a marvelous job of Lamar Jackson being 4-1 as a starter.
Yeah.
They also have RG3 on the roster, Charlton, who could be that backup to Lamar Jackson. And when you think about what Joe Flacco could do, Charlton, he would fit very well in Jacksonville with that defensive core that they have. I think he could rejuvenate that team.
That's a good
Jameis Winston, the perfect place for him, Charlton, would be going to Washington. I'm not so sure that Alex Smith will ever return to the NFL playing field, Charlton. And Jameis Winston, former overall #1 pick in the NFL,
Yeah.
needs a fresh start.
Yeah.
Go to Washington would be a great place for him to start all over, Charlton. You talked about Tyrod Taylor and Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor needs to move on from Cleveland. You know, there's going to be a couple of openings in the NFL, Charlton. He's a good quarterback to bring in to stabilize your franchise. Derek Carr, I don't think his future is secure with the Raiders, Charlton. We see how your buddy John Gruden is, Charlton, very unstable.
Yeah.
That quarterback position is in flux.
You know, if somebody does erratic driving, I got a lot of friends in law enforcement. They can pull you over for erratic driving, especially while you're out driving. Of course, if you're going to drink, please don't drive. Okay? They're pulling people over that display erratic driving. Sometimes you're
So are you
texting.
trying to say that John Gruden is drinking while he's at the helm of the Oakland Raiders?
I'm just saying, when somebody looks erratic in their decision making, you know, they drug test players all the time. They do random tests. Maybe they should do that in the coaching profession. I'm not even being flippant, Big C. If you think about it, if you're out drinking, don't drive. You got to put people in a safe position, even if they're not in your car. Just please don't drink and drive. I want to ask a thought. And we just talked about it earlier with Weinstein in Manhattan being sent to trial. I think March 7th is when it starts. How African American women for 400 years have put up with the same garbage that he's being sent to trial over. They tried to get the judge to throw out the case. They filed a motion to dismiss because they said every one of those women were lying, Big C. And the judge said no. The judge didn't buy it, okay? Now, for African-American quarterbacks, and when we look at sports in general, is racism still prevalent in fans and professional sports? Black athletes, are they still being taunted the way that it used to be? Do we still see that, or are we have moved? I know we still see it, but do you think it's a big issue still? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, it's a huge issue for African-American athletes. The racial taunts that come from the fans, Charlton, because when you look at these arenas, there are majority white fans in these arenas, Charlton.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we've seen it in football games. There was a game last year, I believe it was Seattle and Jacksonville.
Yeah, I remember.
Where you had a defensive tackle from Seattle that was kicked out of the game, and there were racial epithets and taunts, Charlton, and even beer thrown at him.
Yeah.
You know, from fans. White fans in Jacksonville. Charlton, we see this all the time at professional sporting events, that minority athletes have to deal with the racial epithets. I dealt with it as a player.
Yeah.
You know, you heard fans, you know, with these raging racial epithets that we can't say on air.
Right.
But they know they say it, Charlton. Racism has never left American society. But, you know, they target these athletes, Charlton, because they feel that these athletes have to take it because I bought a ticket, so you
Right.
belong to me. It's a form of slave mentality, Charlton, that these fans have towards minority athletes. And not just the African Americans. You think about the Latin ball players, Charlton, that have to deal with these racial epithets from these white fans in the stands. I mean, and depending on the city that you're in, Charlton,
yeah,
the whiter the city, the more racism that's spewed from the fans. And the leagues allow this. Even the ownership and arena staff allow these things to occur, Charlton, because they could dismiss these fans from the arena.
Yeah.
They could toss them out. But they let them do this.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about equality in American society, and minority athletes still, every time they go to work, have to deal with racism in this country because someone bought a ticket, so they feel that they have the freedom to assault that minority athlete, Charlton, through these words. And people will say, well, it's just words. You know, it's that old analogy, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Yeah.
Why do you subject these things? You think about people lose their job in America for making sexual advancements verbally to women,
yeah,
or even vice versa.
Yeah.
That's making hostility in the workplace, inappropriate actions. And you're saying because somebody bought a ticket that they can have those inappropriate actions towards another American, Charlton, and mainly because it's towards minorities. Think about if you were in an arena and you had a white basketball team playing, Charlton,
yeah,
and that's all you had was racial epithets towards this white basketball team, or even a female baseball team, a volleyball team, Charlton, that all these racial epithets were thrown towards them. How would America react at that point? Would they react the same way as they don't react to black athletes being verbally abused?
That's a very good point. I think Jackie Robinson in the movie 42, it tells people exactly what we're saying.
It hasn't changed since that movie, John. Anybody wants to know, watch that movie 42.
Yeah.
That racial slurs have never ended, Charlton. They still exist today in 2018.
Wow. We got to fix that, Big C. We fix it by talking about it. Sharif Abdul-Rahim became the first Muslim American to be commissioner of a professional sports league in America when he was named commissioner of the NBA's G League, Big C, third overall draft pick of the NBA by 1996 by the Vancouver Grizzlies out of the University of Cal Berkeley. Now we know that POTUS had a Muslim ban, right? Now the NBA was the first Muslim to become the commissioner in 2018. We are making progress, even though we have a POTUS that started a quote-unquote Muslim ban, never did a white ban. And we know that most terrorism in the United States is committed by white men. He never did a white ban. We know that most women are sexually assaulted by white men. He never did a white ban. Big C, your thoughts on the new opportunity for the commissioner?
Well, Charlton, you have to take your hats off to the NBA in this behalf, Charlton. This has been the most progressive professional league in all of America. You think about them assigning female officials to officiate male games, Charlton. The NBA was the trailblazer in that.
Yeah.
Also, to have female assistant coaches in the NBA, Charlton. The NBA has been the trailblazer in that. To have female executives in the league, Charlton. The NBA has been trailblazers of that. And now to have an African-American Muslim, Charlton, as the commissioner of the G League. This is the support league for the NBA, Charlton.
Yeah.
Sharif Abdul-Rahim, Charlton, you think about the advancement. You talked about him being the third overall pick of the Vancouver Grizzlies back in 1996.
Yeah.
You know, when Canada had a team on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And, you know, he spent 13 years in the NBA, Charlton, averaged 18 points a game. But, you know, this shows the intelligence of a young man, Charlton, to have his degree in business, to serve as the general manager of the G League team that they had in Reno, Nevada, and now, Charlton, to be moved up to be the commissioner of the league.
Yeah.
That's a powerful position to have, Charlton. You know, in that position, you look at expansion, you look at television, you look at contract negotiations, Charlton. This is a man that's in charge of it all. I mean, he's one step below Adam Silver of the NBA when you think about his position. But it shows the advancement when you look at a person, Charlton, based on his intelligence and his ability. And when you can look past the skin color, as we talked about the racism that's skewed towards minority athletes still today in America.
Yeah.
The NBA, the players, Charlton, own 53% of the league. So this gives them power and the ability to move on all levels. And congratulations to Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And as a Muslim man that comes under all type of xenophobia and hatred from the top down, I just applaud the NBA for really being the vanguard. And we ask all people, black, white, Native American, Hispanic, it doesn't matter who you are. Just let's all help create fairness. No woman should ever have to go into her workforce or go to the shopping mall. Everybody came from a mother. No one wants their mother having to worry about being assaulted by somebody, whether it's in the home or in the workplace, or if you're trying to get a job in Hollywood. Get that garbage out of them up. Don't have them put people at hostage because you want to be successful. No one should ever have to be subjected to that type of just horrible human behavior. And I'm glad that if Weinstein's innocent, let a court of law adjudicate him then if he's innocent. But I know there's a lot of black women who have the same garbage happen to them, and nobody came to their side. And it's just great to see. I don't care what color you are, but white men, there's never been a time in the history that they've ever had to face the crime. They never had to face the justice system for that, Big C. In the NBA, Houston Rockets made an NBA record. Big C, 26 three-pointers in a 136-118 rout of the Washington Wizards. Now, it's one thing for them to shoot that many three-pointers. How many came from Harden is the question, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you think about lights out. This is a team, when you think about the Wizards, just a couple of short nights ago, Charlton, throttled the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
But it shows that, people were talking about what's wrong with the Houston Rockets. We see that the Houston Rockets, Charlton, are now rounding into form. They're going to be in the playoffs in the Western Division, Charlton. They're moving up the stats, win-wise in the column. They're a couple of games over 500 now.
Yeah.
But it just shows how important to have outside shooting is in the league, Charlton.
Yeah.
Why it makes the difference in so many games.
That's a good point, Big C. When you think about that, the NBA's top 5 scorers, Big C, I know you like your certain players, but unlike some of the guys that do it now, you actually deal with how great players were in the past. You're not just concerned with what a guy's doing today. You give a reference with it. But when I get your thoughts, say James Harden, 31.6 points a game. Durant, 28.8, so 29 points. Anthony Davis, 28 points. You have LeBron James averaging 28. Damian Lillard, 27. I think Jordan averaged about 32. But that good old boy Chamberlain, he averaged 50. Big C, give me your thoughts. These guys that are the NBA top 5 scorers now, they would be halfway to the mark, just over half of what Chamberlain did. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Wilt averaged 54 points a game one season and 52 the next season.
Yeah.
So when you ever think about great scorers and people talk about leading scorers in the league, they never bring Wilt Chamberlain into that equation,
Yeah.
because he was the most dominant offensive weapon ever in the league's history.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about Rockets last night hitting a record three-pointers in the game versus the Wizards, and it's the reason why Harden is the leading scorer in the NBA, Charlton. He was the leader of that onslaught last night against the Wizards. We always know about LeBron James' dominance in this league, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
Damian Lillard plays lights-out basketball up in Portland, and no one pays attention to it. The Pelicans have been struggling as of late, but Anthony Davis is that one savior that they have with the team, Charlton. We know the promise of the Golden State Warriors. You got to beat them in a 7-game series. They don't worry about what's going on during the regular season, and Durant's been their leader on the floor.
He's been their leader. Yeah, points-wise. Big C, I know you're more of a traditionalist. You even hate when we have different flavored Kool-Aid out here on the West Coast because you only like stuff that's clear, okay? Something that's not so clear because people have their opinions. Should the NBA consider a 4-point basket? Some people like, traditional guys didn't like it when they had a 2-point basket. Could you imagine if Wilt played with a 3-point basket, Big C? Imagine if Wilt could have played with a 4-point basket. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think that's something that the NBA is going to explore in the next couple of years. If you think about the Big Three, the league that was started by Ice Cube, they have a 4-point basket, Charlton. When the 3-point basket came into the NBA, people looked at that and said, wow, this is really going to change the landscape of basketball. It altered it a little bit, Charlton, but it didn't change the game completely. When we see so many players take these lengthy 3-point shots, Charlton, why not reward them with a 4-point shot? The game is about the fans, entertaining the fans. Are you sitting there and worrying about, and the NBA doesn't do that, Charlton. They don't worry about what players did in the 50s, what they did in the 60s. It's only about what's done in the television generation. That's how the NBA looks at it. So if you're looking for a way, Charlton, to spice up the game anymore.
Yeah.
I think within the next 2 to 3 years, the NBA will explore adapting the 4-point shot, if not just in the preseason, Charlton, but moving on to the regular season.
That's a very good point, Big C. And everybody has their own thoughts about it. It would be great to see maybe try it, maybe in the summer league, and then bring it into the professional league regular season if that happens. And last story tonight, Big C, college football. I know you've been kind of pining over some things, but college football tonight continues in Tampa, Florida. The Bad Boys, the Gillespie Bowl, Marshall University 8-4 versus South Florida 7-6. Those records really don't merit somebody flying across the country to watch them, but it is football nonetheless, Big C. Your lots.
Well, the thing about South Florida, Charlton, is basically a home game for them. Marshall's going to be coming down from West Virginia, get some of those people out of that cold weather. But, with all the bad weather that's been going on the East Coast, it's going to be difficult to travel and during the holiday season. You think about Central Florida, Charlton. This was a team that was in the top 25 at one point this season, Charlton. I believe they got off to a 7-0 start and ended up losing their last 5 games of the season. So it's very imperative that they can get a game, Charlton, in this bowl game and hopefully win and get going into the offseason, not losing 6 consecutive games.
Yeah, that's very important. So everybody, especially women all over the world, and especially women all over the universe, when you look at what Weinstein is facing, if you're a male, I know it's a shock to the system to many white kids, because I've heard my white politician friends tell me, blacks commit more crimes, right? I just ask them, what have they heard of the Kerner Commission? Have they heard of the antebellum days? Have they heard of slavery? Have they heard of lynching? Have they heard of segregation? Because people are innocuous to what crimes they commit if they have white skin. Tim Wise wrote a book about it called White Skin Privilege. In order to change something, you got to acknowledge it first. You got to acknowledge it. Whether it's black men or white men or no matter who you are, the truth will set you free. We got to have dialogue. I'm asking my white brethren and black brethren and everybody, can we all come together and keep women safe? Can we stop saying that it's locker room behavior when the President of the United States grabs a woman in a private part and says it's locker room behavior? It's not locker room behavior. I'm glad that these women who are looking at these old white guys who run the business, and everybody knows that, they can't do that anymore. If it's happening to you, you got to go to authority, Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble, Big C. What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I want to take a step back in time. Everybody in America remembers Hurricane Katrina back in New Orleans. And the New Orleans first game back in the Dome, Charlton, they had a punt block against New Orleans, against the Atlanta Falcons, to propel them to victory. The punt was blocked, Charlton, by Steve Gleason, a special team player of the team. Steve Gleason has been suffering from ALS. Steve Gleason is going to receive the Congressional Gold Medal, Charlton, from Congress. He's only the 8th civilian to receive this award, Charlton, in the history of this award. And when you think about Steve Gleason battling with ALS, Charlton, this goes back to our previous administration. President Obama, in 2015, signed a law that made critical technology available for patients with ALS through neurological disorders, through Medicaid and Medi-Cal. So when we think about the Affordable Care Act and what it meant to America, Charlton, by a President Obama signing that into act, it didn't help just the person, Charlton, who didn't have anything. It even helped former professional athletes like Steve Gleason. So when you see federal judges strike down the Affordable Care Act, and you see Congress saying they want to get rid of Obamacare, think about great athletes, former athletes like Steve Gleason and many other Americans who suffer with ALS. And President Obama made it a law that they could get medical technology, Charlton, to help improve their quality of life.
That's very well said. Our thoughts and prayers with everybody going through something. It's the holidays. Let's make sure we keep everybody safe. Speaking of keeping them safe, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as we always tell you, There's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please just call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.